Hello and welcome to Gefet and Hadaf. I'm Yael Shimoni, bringing to you together with Hadran and Yeshivat Drisha, learning Iyun in your Daf Yomi. And today I'm translating and doing a variation on a shir of Rabbanit Yael Dreyfus, who's giving the shir in Hebrew. And we're going to learn about Shvuat Modeh B'Miktzat. Shvuat Modeh B'Miktzat is a Shvuah, which is an oath that you take in a specific situation when you are saying that something of what is told to you is right, but you're not agreeing to the rest. This is not exactly Gitin, and as we know, Shas goes all through all kinds of issues when we're learning Gemara, and here we have a sugya dealing with Shvat Modeh Miktzat, but this is really a topic that we'll meet again when we will be learning Baba Metzia, and also in Baba Kama, you meet this, and also in Shavuot we'll meet this. So this is more in the name of Dinei Mamonot here in Gitin, but we have here a very important Tosfot, and we will want to learn Machoket Rashi and Tosfot about how to read the Sugya, and on the way to understand interesting facts about Shavuot Modeh Miktzad, and all kinds of questions that arises when we learn about this Shavuot. So we're in Gitin, Daf Nun Aleph, and before we enter the Gemara, I just want to explain what is an oath in the Torah and how do we use it. So as we know, when somebody comes to court, there are all kinds of ways to prove a situation and to decide who's right and who's wrong. And we have this question when somebody is calling me to court and saying, accusing me that I'm owing him money, what does that accusation do? So, as we will see, if somebody accuses me of owing money, so there are lots of options that could happen. I could say, "Oh, I don't owe you anything. You just invented this story," and then he can say, "Is that true? I have aid. I have one aid," and the dean has to decide how to go forth with the situation that one person says that X owes money and says, "I don't owe money at all," or "I do owe money, but not as much as Y says that I owe him." And also, why does he owe me money? Is it because somebody hit my car and that's why he owes me money? Is it because somebody gave me a loan? That's why he owed me money. So questions are questions that of course the Dayanim have to know the rules, how to decide who's right and who's wrong, and how to decide who will pay money or who will lose in such a situation. So of course the court has all kinds of tools to reach to the bottom of truth. Of course, a deem is a very important way of knowing what really happened. And here we have not a deem but an oath. An oath is taken in a situation that somebody claims something happened, or that X owes Y money, and then either X or Y can do a shvuah in the name of God, Yeshua Deraita, and that Shua will tip and make the dayanim decide who's right and who's wrong. So there are three kinds of Shvuot from Deraita, and the common denominator of the Shvuot, the oath from Deraita, is that the person who takes the oath is Nishma and Nifta. I'll give an example. Let's say Rabbanit Chana says I owe her 1,000,000 shekels, and I say, no, I don't owe you anything. And then Rabbanit Chana brings one aid and says that it says, yes, Yael owes Rabbanit Chana 1,000,000 shekels. So then I can do a Shavuah. It's called Shavuat Erechad. I can take an oath, and then I will be niftar. I won't have to pay Rabbanit Chana. Another situation, which is the situation that we're dealing with, is that Rabbanit Chana says that I owe her 1,000,000 shekels, and I say, I only owe her half a million already paid off. That situation is called Modeh B'Mitzah, because I am agreeing, I'm saying she's right, but only to part of the sum that she said that I have to pay her. So, modeh b'miktzat. In such a situation, the Torah says, again, Yael can take an oath and be patur from the rest of the payment. This is Shvuot modeh b'miktzat, and these are Shvuot Deoraita. To Shvuot Deoraita, we also have Shvuot Rabbanan, which we'll mention a few of them soon. And as you know, these oaths are not taken anymore. We don't use them in court anymore. This is a sugya in Masechet Shvuot that the world is not a good enough world to use Shvuot Deoraita. All we have today is Shvuot Rabbanan, also rarely used. But still, we want to learn the Din Deoraita. why is this that the Torah says that if I say that I owe Rabbanit Hana 500,000 and she said that I owe her 1,000,000 and I actually agreed to part of what she claims, how come it's enough that I will take an oath and then be patur? And that is the basic question that we will ask ourselves. And we're reading here in Masechet Gittin, Daf Nun Aleph Amud Bet, a very, very famous Meimra of Rav. Rabba says, "Mipnei ma amra Torah modeh b'miktzat ha'ta'ana shava." Rabba is asking a question. Why did the Torah say that I, Yael, in the situation that we described, take an oath? Okay? It seems as if Rabba is bothered by a simple question. How come it is enough for me just to take an oath and then just go away with paying only 500,000? Why is this bothering Rabba? This is a question that Rishonim will ask, because this question, it is unclear what's bothering Rabba. All kinds of options can be here. Maybe what's bothering Rabba is, why do I have to take an oath? Maybe we just have to believe me because I said I owe her 500,000. Maybe what's bothering Rabba is, how come only an oath is good enough? Maybe I have to pay her the whole 1,000,000. So we don't know what Rabba asked. When we continue, let's see what Rabba's answer was. Answers Rabba, why did the Torah say that Yael takes an oath and is niftar on the 500,000? חזקה אין אדם מאיץ פניו בפני בעל חובו. והי בכולי בעל למיכולי, והדלא כפרי, משום דין אדם מאיץ פניו בפני בעל חובו. ובכולו באו דלוי, והדלא איש שתק בני. סבור רץ וליזוזו פרענה. שמואל לביא, כי יחי דלא דלי בכולי. The situation and psychological analysis to Yael Shimoni. Okay, why is Yael responding to Rabbanit Hana saying that she only owes 500,000? Maybe it is because she really does owe 1,000,000, but she doesn't have the money to pay the whole 1,000,000, so she doesn't want to say she doesn't owe anything. But on the other hand, she doesn't want to give 1,000,000 because she doesn't have the money. So she's saying she owes half as a way to borrow time. So that's why God says, okay, Al, you have to take an oath. Why? Because if you really owe 1,000,000, it will force you to say that you owe the 1,000,000. So here it sounds that what Rabbi is bothered by is, how come an oath is needed when I say that I owe 500,000? Because Rabbi here says that really God doesn't believe me that I owe only 500,000, because we're suspecting that I really owe 1,000,000, and this is a way to make sure that what I'm saying is the truth. So this is what's written in the Gemara. And while I was reading, I don't know if you noticed, I was feeling out the words, because there's a very big machloket rishonim about how to read this passage of what Rabbah said here, because it's a very, very sophisticated chazakah that Rabbah here describes. There are many, many different points that he's making here. And in order to see why this passage is so difficult to understand, we will start by reading Tosfot, and then we will move to read Rashi. So I'm beginning with Tosfot. And Tosfot opens with an interesting word. It says Perush. Perush. Why is he saying Perush? Because this is a hard passage to read, and any reading of it will be a Perush, because we're not sure what the pshat is. So says Tosfot, Perush, למה לא יהיה נאמן במיגו דאיבאי כופר הכל? Wow. Tosfot here is using a word that was not written in the Gemara. Tosfot is saying migo. Do you know what migo is? I'm not sure. So let's just go over what migo is. Migo means mitoch. Mitoch means from within, from the inside. What's migo? What is this relevant to what we're doing now? Okay. So we have a law in Dinei Mamonot. When we hear somebody say a statement, we have to listen very carefully to what he says. And he's claiming something that is difficult to claim. And he put an option to give an easier answer and get away with it. So that is a reason to believe him. This law is called migo. We have a very strong example here. Rabbanit Hana says, I owe her 1,000,000 shekels. I could have chosen an easier path and say, I don't owe you anything. I don't know you at all. But who says I owe you anything? The minute I choose to say, you know what, I do owe you, but not the amount that you're saying, I'm choosing the harder path. So according to the regular rules of Toy and Benitan, Tosfot is asking a very strong question. Why do I need to give Yael an oath? The reason that I should be believing Yael is because she chose the harder answer. And the harder answer is proof that she's speaking the truth. And that is a way to know that she's truthful. And therefore, it seems that she won't be needing a shvua at all. So this is how Tosfot reads the Gemara. According to Tosfot, that was Rabba's question. Rabba's question wasn't why not to believe me. Rabba's question was why not to believe me without any oath? Because I took the harder path. I took the road less traveled by. I was a person who is claiming to be truthful, and the way I'm acting is also proving that I'm saying the truth. So according to Tosfot, that is what Rabbah was concerned about, because Rabbah thought that if Rabbanit Yael says I owe $1 million or shekels, and I say I owe her less, and not the entire amount, that's a good enough reason to believe me and let me pay whatever I think I owe and have me go home without doing any oath and nothing. So that's the question according to Tosfot. Lama lo hiye ne'eman bemigo di'baye kofer hakol. Continues the Tosfot and says, if according to the way I understand, this is the question of the sugya, maybe we have to learn here a new law. Maybe we have to learn that according to the Torah law, migo, this law that I'm truth saying because I chose the harder path, maybe this law is not enough to release me from saying an oath. Okay, so this beginning of Tosfos is already popping up a lot of questions. Who is the person who we believe, and who is the person who we don't believe? So according to Tosfot, if I agree to part of what is being claimed against me in court, it means that I'm truthful. And that's the assumption that Tosfot works with. And if that is the assumption, this is a very strong question in Torah. How come God is not believing me? Why is God changing the regular rules of Torah and Benita? And Tosfot answer, Umeshane, ואין אדם מאיז פניו מפני בעל חובו. וליקה מיגו, דאין לו פנים לכפור הכל. Says Tosfot, the Sugya teaches us that the reason that God does not believe me is because this is not a regular migo. This is not a regular situation that I am taking the easier path. Why? Because let's see, what was my other option? My other option was to say to Rabbanit Yael, oh, you interesting. And says to Tosfot, I didn't really have that option open. You know why? Because En Adam me'iz bifnei Baal Chovo. That's what Rabbi explains. Rabbanit Yael claims that she gave me money. And it sounds that she really did give me money. We're just fighting about the amount. So since she gave me money as a loan, she's done me a favor. She's a person that I'm in debt to. I owe her. And if I owe somebody something, I don't have the guts, really, to stand in front of him and say, you're lying. I don't owe you anything. That option is not really open, says Tosfot. Because if I really agree that Rabbanit Yael did give me money, I actually took away from me the chance to stand in front of her and say that she's lying, because I admitted the fact that she's somebody who's been gomel tova to me. She's done me a favor. So there is no real option for me to stand in front of her and say that she's lying. And that's why, says Tosfot, I don't really have a migo, because this is migo de azah. The other option, to stand in front of her and to say that she doesn't, that I don't owe her anything, that is something that only somebody who is very, very, very ma'is, very chutzpah would do. And that's a very rare situation. So that's why this is no proof that I chose the harder path. Because to stand in front of her and say, I don't owe you anything, that is the harder path. So let's repeat what Tosfot said here. The question that Rabbi is bothered by is, why not believe Yael? Because she took the harder path. The answer is, Rabbi tells us, in this situation, this is not the harder path. Because to stand and say that you owe nothing, that is a much harder option than to say that you owe some. Okay, so these are first 2 points that Tosfot is saying here. And here he adds a small commentary about Shvuot Rabbanan. I don't want to read that. I want to continue and see how Tosfot continues. So Tosfot here, when he read the Sugya, said, when I read the Sugya, I'm not sure how to read it. I have one option of reading the Sugya and saying, maybe what the Torah taught us here is that the option of migo, if somebody has a choice to go on the harder path, that is a good reason to believe him, but still he will be having to give an oath. Or, which is the option that Tosfot actually goes with, is that in this situation, the Rabbanit Chana lended me money, and I agree that she lended me money. I actually revealed the fact that I don't really have an easier path to go through, because I really don't have the option, an easy option, to stand in front of her and say, I don't owe you nothing, because she really did give me money, and I won't be chutzpahdik enough to use that path. So since that path is closed, it can't really prove that I'm saying the truth, because maybe I'm really just trying to avoid her. So this is how Tosfot is reading the question of the sugya and the answer that Rabbah has given. And if we continue with the Tosfot, we will see that the Tosfot says there is another option to read the sugya, but I think it's the wrong option. So what is the other option to read the sugya? Let's read the Tosfot. אבל אין לפרש שבא ליתן טעם למאי כופר הכל פטור, וכאמר לפי שאין אדם מעיז. Says the Tosfot, Yael, don't read the sugya like this. Why don't we believe somebody who says that he doesn't owe anything? And then the answer is because a person is not chutzpah d'kanam. What is this different alternative of reading the sugya? Tosfot says that you could have asked a different question entirely. You could have asked, why is that a person can't just stand and say, I don't need to answer this tvia. I don't know Rabbanit Chana. I don't care about her. And this is what the rabbi is trying to explain. Why is he saying the truth? We need to understand this a little deeper. We'll continue with the Tosfot and see more. But I just want to read the next sentence of Tosfot. Why can't we read the sugya this way? להכופר הכל פטור, אפילו במקום שיכול להעיז. הרי בבנו נמעיז, פטרו ברבנן אפילו מודה במקצת, במיגו, ויבאי כופר הכל. Says Tosfot, you should know that if a person can actually stand and say that he's kofar bakol, he is saying the truth. How do I know that? I have a sugya soon that you will see that we believe somebody. If he's modeh b'miktzat in front of his son, then we believe him b'migo that he's kofar hakol. So there are 3 different ways of reading the sugya, and Tosfot prefers one of them. The way that Tosfot reads the sugya, as we said, that the question is, how come somebody who is modeh b'miktzat, if I say to Rabbanit Chana, yes, I do owe you money, but not the amount you said, why am I not really true saying, because I could have gone in a different and easier path just to say that I don't owe her anything? Because, says Tosfot, that's not an easier path. It's not an easier path because she did you a favor and you don't have the chutzpah to stand in front of her and say, I owe you nothing. That's how Tosfot reads the sugya. Tosfot mentioned 2 other ways of reading the sugya and said that these 2 ways are not true. One is that the sugya is trying to prove to us that even though we do believe somebody who is kofar bakol, that it's not enough to have him go away with nothing, without an oath. And the other option was, why is kofar bakol chayav shvuah, and not only modeh b'miktzat. This option is a different option of reading the sugya. Maybe what Rabbi is bothered by is why I don't always have to say a shvuah. Let's look at this scenario. Rabbanit Yael says, I owe you a million, you owe me 1,000,000 shekels. And I say, no, I don't owe you anything. Maybe, says Tosfot, maybe that's what Rabbi asked. Maybe Rabbi asked why I would have to do a shvuah also when I say that I don't owe you anything. Why, when somebody says I owe you nothing, we believe him? Maybe it's not enough to give a shvuah on somebody who owes half. Maybe you have to give a shvuah also for somebody who says that this whole tviyah, that this whole coming to court is irrelevant. This way of reading the sugya, if we just oppose it to the way that Tosfot believes this is how we read the sugya, is a very different reading. But let's look at this in a different scenario. Okay. I'm sitting at home and I get a letter that I'm called to court. The question is, why should that bother me? Maybe I can just send to court and say, I'm sorry, I don't know this person. Why are you calling me to court? Why do I have to show up? Any person can just come out of nowhere and say, yeah, you owe me 1,000,000 shekel, you owe me 1,000,000 shekel, you owe me 1,000,000 shekel. Maybe it's nothing. Why should I give so much power for somebody who jumps out of nowhere and says that I owe him something? How Tosfot reads the sugya. Tosfot says, if somebody says that Yael, you owe me 1,000,000 shekels, and you say I owe you nothing, I believe you. The whole question arises, the whole problem arises, only if you agree that you did owe some. But the other way of reading the sugya, the Tosfot is standing against, thinks that if somebody comes out of the blue and says that I owe him money, you won't believe me. Even if I stand and say, no, I don't know this person, I don't owe him anything, still, maybe I will have to vow. Maybe I will have to give an oath. These two ways of reading the sugya are very different understandings on how much we trust people. In the way that Tosfot reads the sugya, people are basically innocent. And if somebody claims that I owe them money, and I say, I'm sorry, you owe me anything, you believe me. But according to the other way of reading the sugya, he who says that I owe him money, suddenly I have to give an oath. So according to the other way, people are not really so innocent, and anybody can prick me and tell me, oh, you owe me money, oh, you owe me money, and I will have to go to court and I will have to give a shvuah. So these are two very different ways of reading reality and understanding what happens when somebody is filing a court law against me. So after I read this in these two ways, I think we all agree that Tosfot's reading of the sugya is something that makes sense, because if you would ask me out of svara, I would say, if somebody comes up to me and claims that I owe him money, that's not enough to take a shvuah right out of my mouth. In order to take a shvuah right out of my mouth, I have to at least claim and agree that I owe him something. And that is how Tosfot reads the sugya. After we read that, still Tosfot is bothered by another question. Why are we so strongly sure that if somebody comes to me and says, I owe you money, and I say, I don't owe you anything, that we believe me? Let's see what Tosfot thinks about this. The kofer hakol de patur. Tosfot says, why is Yael really saying the truth when she's saying, I don't owe you anything? Is he going to say a svara, or is he going to give a pasuk? Let's listen closely. The kofer hakol de patur, gzerat hakatuv, דכתיב כי הוא זה. משמע דווקא במודה וקצת ולא כופר. So here, Tosfot says something very interesting. He says, listen, I think that out of svara, it would not be so easy to say that if somebody says that Yael owes money, that I will automatically believe her if she says that nothing happened. Really? Only God can come and say that we believe Yael. And where did God say that? God said that when he said that only somebody who is modeh b'miktzat is chayav shvuah, God said that when I say that I'm patur, that I don't have anything, we believe. So if I'll sum up the Tosfot has 3 points to say. How he reads the sugya, he says the sugya is bothered by a simple question. If we believe Yael when she says that she owes nothing, how come when she says that she owes part, she doesn't have amigo? How do we know that when Yael says she owes nothing, we believe her? That is Gzerat Katuv, says Tosfot. That's Gzerat Katuv. And since God said we have to believe me, different question that Rabbi is asking is very strong. If we believe Yael when she says that she is not chayav at all, why doesn't she have amigo if she says that she's chayav part? The answer is once Yael said that she does owe a person something, that situation proves that she doesn't really have an option to say that she's totally patur, because that will not be an easier path. That's a path to stand and to be very, very chutzpahdik. So maybe because I'm a person who doesn't like to fight people, I will choose the easier path and say that I owe some and I don't owe the whole amount. And that is why only in a situation of whatever miktzat I am chayav shvua. Why am I chayav shvua? Because I don't have amigo. And when I say that I don't owe anything, why do we believe me? Because God said you have to believe me. That's a gzera katu. So that's how Tosfot reads the sugya. And according to Tosfot, people can't just jump up out of nowhere and say that I'm chayav. Somebody will come up and say that I'm chayav, and I'll say, "Excuse me, I'm not chayav at all." Then I will be patur, and that is katuv. Nobody can take an oath out of me if I'm not modev and mitzvah. Now, after we read Tosfot, let's go to Rashi and Daf Baba Kama. Because Tosfot told us that he doesn't want to read a sugya in a different way. But this different way, this different path, is the path that Rashi took. So let's see what Rashi says. Rashi על בבא קמא דף ק"ז. אין אדם מעיז פניו בפני זה שעושה לו טובה. כי לכך, היכא דכפר הכל, פטור משבועה. דאילאו קושטא בהדיא, לא הווה מצא למכפרי בי, והיכא דמועמדי במקצת, בכולי באי למכפרי, עד דלא כפרי, משום דאין אדם מעיז. What did Rashi say here? He said something very different from Tosfot. Let's read him carefully. אין אדם מעיז פניו בפני זה שעושה לו טובה. לכך, היכא דכפר הכל, פטור משבועה. Rashi here says, שבועת מודה במקצת doesn't talk about all situations that people say, oh man. It talks about a very specific situation. Oh, when somebody claims that he gave me a loan. And when somebody claims that he gave me a loan, then I don't have the guts to stand in front of him and lie to him because I owe him. And that is why only in a situation of a loan, we believe me if I will say, I don't owe you anything. How is this different from Tosfot? Let's look at Tosfot and look at Rashi and find the differences between them. Okay, first difference. What is Rabba's question? Rabba said, "Mipnei ma amra Torah, modeh bebiktzat shava." According to Tosfot, Rabba's question was, you don't know. Because you have an option. You could have said that you don't know anything. Then that's proven that you're also truth saying now that you chose the harder path. So why isn't that the harder path? And that's what read Rabba's question. According to Rashi, that's not the question. The question is, why did the Torah only say that a person who is saying that he does owe something has to give an oath? Why didn't the Torah also say that if I think that I don't have anything, I have to give an oath? To Rashi, Rabba thinks that when somebody calls me to court, I will always have to give an oath. Because if somebody filed a court ruling against me, this already proves that something is wrong. Okay, so here we see a very big difference between Rashi and Tosfot. According to Rashi, the fact that somebody comes to court and says that I'm chayav, that is enough for the judges to think that I'm guilty. And the way that Chronim and other Rishonim explained Rashi is that here we have a chazaka. If Rabbanit Chana is going to court, she is not wasting her time. There is something here. Something is fishy. חזקה אין אדם תובע אלא אם כן יש לו עליו. And that is why, even if I will stand and say, no, I don't owe you anything, still I will have to be nishba. Unless I will come and say that I'm. So, according to Rashi, Rabbi's question is, why only give a shvut for the mikzah? Why not give a shvut also for Ofer Bakol? And according to Tosfot, Rabbi was never bothered by that question because Rabbi was sure that if I'm saying that I am patur, we will believe me. So according to Rashi, nobody was sure that I'll be truth saying when I'm saying that I'm patur. And according to Tosfot, everybody agrees that when I'm saying that I'm patur, I don't need an oath. So that's the first very big difference between Rashi and Tosfot. Another very big difference between Rashi and Tosfot is Rabbi's answer. According to Rashi, why do we believe me when I say to Rabbanit Chana that I am patur? Because, says Rashi, because Rabbanit Chana is my Baal Chov, and if I stand in front of her and say that I'm patur bichlal, that's big chutzpah. So we believe me. And Adam me'if panav bifnei Baal Chovo. If I had the guts to stand in front of her, look her in the eye, and say, "I'm sorry, I don't owe you anything," that means that I'm saying the truth, but only in what situation? Only if she claims that she lended me money. But if she comes and claims that I hit her car and that's why I owe her 1,000 shekels, then even if I stand and say, sorry, I don't owe you anything, according to Rashi, I will still have to do a shavua because the reason that we believe me is only when I stand in front of somebody who did me a favor and say, I'm sorry, you didn't give me any money. Then we believe him. If somebody claims that I damaged him, I don't have any fact to stand to me, no psychological analysis to stand by me and say that I'm saying the truth. Maybe I'm lying. So that's Rashi. But according to Tosfot, as we saw, any kofer bakol, it doesn't matter if it's loan or if it's damages or anything. There's a katu that we believe me when I say that I'm not chayav. So that's another big difference between Rashi and Tosfot. According to Tosfot, we always believe somebody if he stands and say, "I owe nothing." According to Rashi, we only believe me if I am being persecuted over a loan, because then we believe me that that I need to be very gutsy to lie. And that's why if I'm standing and saying that I'm owing nothing, probably I'm saying the truth. But if I'm kofel bakol in damages in other situations, I will still be chayav shvua. That's what it sounds like in Rashi. Another difference between Rashi and Tosfot is analytical difference. According to Rashi, we have here two chazakot, one fighting the other. The first chazaka is any person who goes to court and files in something against me, we have a tendency to believe him. There's a chazaka that he's not wasting his time and is not wasting his money. The fact that somebody took his time and bothered to go to court, that's already proof that he's right. That's how Rashi reads the sugya. And then we have to have another chazaka to stand against this chazaka and prove me right. And the other chazaka is only there if I am standing in front of somebody who claims that he gave me a loan and I say, I don't owe you anything, then it's a chazaka and adam panav b'fnei Baal Chovo. So it's one chazaka in front of another chazaka. According to Tosfot, there's no fight of chazakut here. There's no chazaka when somebody is filing something against me. Because according to Tosfot, always they have a gzera katuv, there's no chazaka against me. The fact that somebody went to court is not enough to prove anything. It's not enough even to create any dent in the way that the court looks at my situation. This is a very big machloket between Rashi and Tosfot. I think this is also very relevant to questions that we have today. The fact that somebody is actually suing somebody, is that enough to say that maybe there's a problem? According to Rashi, yes. And according to Tosfot, no. And, of course, the last difference between Rashi and Tosfot, Kofer Bakol, somebody who claims that he's not Chaya. Do we believe him and why? According to Tosfot, yes, we always believe him. Why? There's a Gzerat Katuv. According to Rashi, I always believe him. Only if he stands in front of a person who claims to have done him a favor, then we believe him. Because to stand in front of somebody who did you a favor and to lie straight while you're looking in your eyes, that is very, very rare. And chances are that if you're saying that you're not, it is really because you're saying the truth. Because it's very hard to stand in front of somebody who did you a favor and say that you don't know him and you have no relationship with him. So according to Rashi, you have to have a chazaka to prove that you're right. There's no Gzerat Katuv, there's a chazaka. And that chazaka only exists if the person is claiming to have done me a favor. And therefore, if a person is claiming that I damaged him, there's no chazaka, there's no nothing. And it seems that according to Rashi, such a gofer bakor will have to be chayav. Okay, so today we learned a very big machloket between Rashi and Tosfot on Modeh Miktzat. And this machloket goes deep to very interesting questions. When somebody sues me in court, do I have innocence, basic innocence? According to Tosfot, yes. According to Rashi, no. When somebody sues me, a situation of a lawsuit is already a situation that proves that something is wrong with me. And only if I'll have another chazaka and adam then and only then we will believe me only because I said so. In all other scenarios, I will have to do an oath because we don't strictly believe me. The fact that somebody sued against me is enough to put me on the stand and force me to give an oath in the name of God. Okay, so today we saw Machlokes Rashi and Tosfot. This was a little difficult, more difficult than usual, and hopefully we will return to this when we will be learning Dinei Mamonot in Bama Metzia and in Truot. So, Bezrat Hashem, we'll meet there again, and see you again next week. Take care.